Okay, so we are gonna get started. Microphones are not working, so Vice Mayor Nickerson, please, if you're going to speak, speak loudly, okay? Good evening, and thank you all for being here this evening. Today is Tuesday, August 14th, and this is our second budget workshop meeting, and I'd like to call it to order at 7:05 p.m. At this time, if I can please have a moment of silent meditation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I please have roll call?
Yes. Councilperson Dreyer.
Present.
Councilperson Roman.
Here.
Councilperson Mathis.
Present.
Vice Mayor Nickerson.
Here.
Mayor Rios.
Here.
There you have it, Mark.
Excellent. May I get a motion for approval of the agenda? Actually, just one quick thing. Councilperson Gray asked if he could just add in the end a question to the council with regards to adding a public works committee. I'm fine if he wants to ask the question, if you guys agree on that on the record. So I think he needs to have a public works meeting. Okay, so if we can discuss that quickly, and you guys can come up with a date or email a date to the clerk. Okay. May I get a motion of approval of the agenda? It's been made by Councilperson Mathis. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Mayor Nickerson. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any nays? I want to thank Courtney and Ms. Brooks for being here. Ms. Brooks, it's been a while we've seen you. And our CFO is present this evening, as well as our village manager and our interim village attorney, Norman Powell, are all present. Thank you. May anybody in good and welfare would like to come up and ask us anything? You have 3 minutes to come up and ask us, say anything. Okay, hearing none. Tonight is about the budget workshop. This is our second budget workshop, and our goal this evening is to balance the budget so that when we go to budget hearing, we're pretty much in final order. We met for the first time, and we made some recommendations to the administration, and they have come back up. Now, I think that council is working off of I don't know if they have the same one I have. No, it doesn't have the same. Do you have copies?
I printed the one you sent out.
Not
Is
the
that
latest.
that's not the latest?
Which one did you send to?
It should be the one from the 727.
Okay, then that should be the latest. That's
Oh.
the one
So
that,
the one that you want,
Same thing.
we worked on
Let
today?
me see real quickly, Councilperson Gray.
it should be. Unless there was some other one.
Sorry, no, actually, I don't,
They're not,
I just printed it.
I has it as a 724.
yeah, because I read those on some of them, but.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I mean, it's not that far. It's not the one, the other one. This is
Right.
relatively close, so, that one's a little lower, which is probably better anyway, so.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. Actually, I have it here. I have it right here. So, okay, so, wow, you all have an old one.
What clarification, is this what was sent out? Are you looking at what was sent out?
Yes, you guys printed out what was sent out? Okay, yes, we're working on that.
Thank you.
I have all the versions. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and just to reiterate how we did the first budget workshop, I think we should keep some similarity, and that was, we'll go department by department. There's 5 departments that have budgets, I believe 5 or 6. And on the same theme that we discussed at the first budget workshop, and that is, this is a different year for El Portal. In terms of, like, it's been years since we actually had a hurricane. We had to actually take a loan to pay back one bill. We've been working very diligently on the reimbursement process. So I just asked the council that as we're going through the budget, let's be mindful of that. I know there are a lot of things that we want and to enhance the administration or to enhance other departments, but let's really be mindful. Let's keep it as lean as possible. And then if things change differently as it relates to, getting our reimbursement, then when we do the mid-budget year review, we can then consider all the other things that we may need and want. I think right now it's most important. We've always operated very lean. Let's operate even more lean. And if there's anything that we actually have at the end, after we do all of our franchise fees and ad valorem, then we can actually put back into the reserves instead of spending it or using it and investing it to the village. Let's just be as conservative as possible. Let's get through the mid-year budget review, and we'll see where we're at with the reimbursement. So just keep that in mind as we're going through the entire budget, okay? With that said, the first department is the village council. So just to ask the council, the budget that you have in front of you is the one that it says 15, correct?
Yes.
15 total. So what we proposed is, while the council may have got an increase in their stipend from 3,000 to 4,500, in lieu of supporting the operating lien, it's moved down to 15. So are we okay with the council budget, which the total dollar for this year would be spending 42,000 as opposed to what we had adopted last year, which was 61,000?
I have a couple
Okay.
saving recommendations.
Okay.
You want to just put them out there?
Yeah.
Okay. Travel expense, the mayor has 5,000, I think that should be 2,500. Each council member has 500, I think that should be 3. And our discretionary, instead of 2, I think should be 15, so that gives us a saving of $4,300.
Any comments from the council?
So this, and, so you're saying, Councilperson Mathis, to make these changes would keep the pay at the same cents in lieu of, or?
No.
In addition to?
In addition to that, also,
Oh, in addition?
yeah.
You know what, before we actually go into the department, the question that I had for Erwin, when we met briefly before was, where are we at as far as projected revenue, which would be the ad valorem and the fees for the year, for the next fiscal year? And then what is the proposed budget? Are we over or under? Because if we're over, then we know how much we need to cut back.
Yeah, so what I did to determine that is I eliminated the FEMA revenue of the expenditures to see just from normal operations, what are our revenues and what are our expenditures. We did have to make some adjustments today. I met with Chrissy all day and also with Ronnie, and I'll give you some examples. When I was going through the police budget, I found that in their contract, they get a 3% increase, and that wasn't in for next year. 2 of the officers get a shift differential of 5%, I needed that added. We had a new officer coming on, we had that on his uniforms, et cetera. So there were some changes. However, even with those changes we made today, the way it came in is that the revenues exceed our expenditures from normal operations by $51,000 and change. Which means that if we didn't say we were going to have any more expenditures, $51,000 would go back to reserves.
So what, based on the budget that's in front of us, so what
No,
is it?
No, based on the budget that Marjorie's copying because the copier broke. If you want to do it based on the one we have right here, it would be, hold on.
Let's make sure that what you have is what we all have in front of us. The one that we have, I have the total revenue and transfers for the next fiscal year at $4,192,937. Is that what you have?
I'm $4,192,937.
Yeah, okay. And then we have the admin and finance at $494,996. Do you have that one?
I have 510,015. And that's how it changes, because this is the copy from the first budget meeting we had with them. Whatever changes were asked for, that's what this copy is.
Okay, so I have that budget here. I don't think the council does. Because the budget that the council has is the budget from the first budget workshop. This is the one that council has. Then we asked for changes and changes were made, and it says here as of 7/24. That's the one that I have. And I don't know if the council was perhaps maybe emailed the incorrect one, because I usually ask everything to be printed out.
So this is.
Yeah, that's the same one I sent to Denise, for distribution.
But they don't have that. And the reason I know that is because I'm just comparing one line item. Yes, it's 494, this is 510 here. So,
But this is from
This is as of 7/24. This was after our budget workshop. They made changes and they were bringing it forward to us. And I can see the changes here.
Here.
Yeah, look, we don't have the same numbers.
Right, so this is the old one?
Well, this is the updated one.
So it's just making
This
copies,
is
President.
July.
Just making
Where
copies,
is this?
we're getting new copies.
Yeah.
So we'll
Had to
just
go
wait.
to, she had to go to Kinko's.
Yeah.
My recommendation, if
Oh,
you want to call her and ask her where she is at this point?
Oh, I'm sure she's probably not even there yet. But, okay.
Where-
I don't know where she is, but I will.
Because with some of the changes, there weren't major
It's a
changes.
significant changes?
No. No, the police, there was a little change, in admin, there was a little change, but changes where I was asked to take the village hall repairs and move from public works into finance and administration. So it really wasn't increasing the budget, it was just shifting some of the expense lines from one department to another department.
You highlight those changes?
Yes, and not only did I highlight the changes, but I also printed out the detailed budget by line item, what makes up those totals. So when you look at operating supplies, you can see it broken down by individual items what makes it up. That's what she's copying right now, our copier broken.
I can't, okay, from the budget that I'm looking at, that the council doesn't have, I can go over as well, because I don't think, and I don't feel comfortable with council approving a budget that they don't see. They used to, like, because there are things that are slightly different. For example, if you could get a hold of Marjorie,
I just sent her a text.
for example, on finance and administration. Council is not really different, it's actually exactly the same. The one that is different is, okay, so if we go to admin and finance, that's where there's a change from the one that you guys and the one that I have. So I'll walk you guys through it really quickly. So admin and finance, you all have the first line item at the manager at 85, correct?
Correct.
Okay, then the next line item, you have the regular salaries, which is Marjorie, correct?
Yeah.
And then you have,
Just go down by numbers. Just do the
you have
numbers.
85, you have 42,000, 9,700, right?
No,
Yeah.
9,700 is the FICA?
Wait, 9,700, 9,782.
9,700.
$92.
Sorry, I was,
So.
9,782.
It's 82 or
92.
So, 43, 44.
And then the next line item we have is 24,002. And then the next line item after that is 14,478.
Yeah.
They did bring the basic payroll services down, so you guys have 3,500, right?
32.
Oh, 32, okay, 32 here. And then what do you have for monthly bank fees?
49.
49, okay. Then the attorney at 96,
Yeah.
then the lobbyist at 36.
Yeah.
Did that go up?
No, it's the same.
Then it would.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I missed 0. Okay, 0, and then after that is 36? Yeah.
Okay, but, Irma, was the lobbyist one something that we saw some difference in today?
Yeah. There were two, you know what it was? I think there were two lobbyists, right?
Yeah, ever since we hired a firm, we've always had 2. I'm just going down the line items so you see where the differences are at.
Excuse me, my question, did the fees go up from year over year?
Yeah, the lobbyist fees went up to the prior year, because that's what you're asking.
That's my
Yeah.
question. And this is, we're projecting an increase as well, 36.
Yeah, the reason is we have 2 lobbyists, we're paying $2,000 a month each, which comes to like $48,000. Southern, and Ackerman is the other one, I believe, right, for $2,000 each a month. So if it continued next year, and which is what I adjusted in which is printing, that would be $48,000 next year.
48,000, right now it shows 36,000.
Right.
So we're looking at an increase of $12,000.
Right, because the actual expenditure for this past year is going to be 48.
What's driving that increase in the expenditure?
Well,
with
we're
the,
paying each of August $2,000 a month each.
Right,
So,
did that increase then, the increase in the month, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Well, I don't know what-
The numbers match up.
No, the monthly cannot increase because that was done through an RFQ, so no. the only thing that has, I believe the reason it has gone up is because we're keeping them, they've been on retainer consistently. But what we pay a month hasn't changed.
I'm gonna ask the council to revisit this, because based on the last, year, we gotta measure as well the return on the investment, especially, last year, right? So that's just an open thought there.
Yeah, and on the detail, when Marjorie brings it back, you will see it broken down between who they are, it's broken out.
Yeah, the thing to keep in mind is, we are gonna cut back, but areas that we are gonna cut back that could bring a return on the investment. So for example, yes, you're paying $2,000 or $3,000 a month, but we can't forget that we received more than $500,000 last year from that. So we're going into a new legislative session again. So that's, just be mindful of that as well. I want to continue with the admin and finance, but there's a position added that the council should know that I don't necessarily agree with at the moment, but, okay. Because one thing is keeping things the way they are, that are functioning in terms of like what we spend, and there's some areas that we can come back. What and like the council's agreed to take back their salary, but to add new positions or there be a salary increase, I think that needs to be taken a look at as something that we should not be doing right now. So if you go on to admin and finance, one line item that I'll leave off on.
You look at the lobbyist.
Okay, so the lobbyist is at 36,000.
Well, the budget was 36, but the actual spent this year is 48, so the questions are gonna be, when we get these sheets coming back, do we want it to be at 48, paying them 2,000 a month each, or are we gonna cut it back?
We should wait till we get the sheets though.
Remember, we have construction projects going on that we're gonna need funding for phases 2 and 3, and
That's why I think I
But
think
that-
that,
just to be
That has
clear.
nothing to do with them doing
Yeah.
their job, just because we have stuff going on, you don't throw money at them, they have to do their job.
When you state phase 2 and 3, are you referring to the public works,
Sewer, septic, yeah.
We haven't utilized the actual, lobbyists to get that grant. We actually are doing this through a grant money that's actually, used through.
But who brought it- who
yeah,
brought
but
it forward?
hold on, okay, everybody, let's think for a second. Yes, Pinoni assisted us in getting the money that we actually have not gotten yet, or the project approved. But when we go to Tallahassee, like we have for several years now, we are always lobbying for, this is not the first time we've lobbied for septic to sewer or for stormwater. That's something that we do all the time. It's not just specifically this year or specifically that year or specific projects. We're continually there because it's through effort and through persistency that you go there that there's money to actually receive. But I think that we need to continue with what's on the budget instead of just like, clearly he talked about the council, you talked about the lobby, let's keep going, and then we can reevaluate based on what is necessary, of how much money we want to spend. Okay? So we're in admin finance, right? So what line am I lobby?
You were down to audit services.
Okay, so audit service is at 28,000. The contracted is, the recommendation is 25. Our CFO is at 58. If you go to the next page, grant writing. Now, like I mentioned to the manager and to the CFO, the recommendation for 24 is actually 24,000 for next year is not really for the grant writer. That has been the project manager for septic to sewer. So I made a recommendation that should be changed to public works, because it's not I don't want a resident to come and tell me you spent $24,000 on a grant writer, what grant have you gotten?
So
The
we're
truth
transferring
is,
this,
if it's for septic to sewer, we should take it out of the general fund budget and move it over to the stormwater budget.
so we're transferring this out.
I'm sorry, there's a
Perfect.
situation at Horseman, and I'm getting text messages. I think your Officer Owens, Officer Owens there? Okay, I'm getting a text message. Okay, so I don't need to look at my phone. What was the question?
I'm saying that if it's for septic to sewer consulting, it should be moved from the general fund budget to the stormwater budget.
Yeah, and not only that, but I think I asked Robert, or I may have asked the manager, maybe that's something that can be reimbursed by the state through the money that, because Pinoni's being paid now through the money that we get from the state. Maybe that's something we can do for Robert Lawn, and we can get that money back. So, but it's gotta be properly noted and documented as far as what it.
So we all agree
it's
to
on.
move this
So this
line
is
item to
transferred out.
stormwater budget?
Project manager, yeah.
I have a request here. Yeah, I have a request here. So the $24,000 is broken up into 2 activities, right? One for the grant money, which is $10,000, correct?
No.
I don't know
What
that.
happened,
You
no,
don't
but,
know, but I need to need him to answer.
But I'm gonna answer, okay. It's not. What happened earlier this year, the manager made a decision, and we talked about it at a council meeting, and that was, instead of using, the money as, for the grant writing, there are so many meetings from septic to sewer that there are times that the manager cannot go, or, if you can't go. So, Robert Ruano has gone to every single meeting, and he's paid for that. So what the manager did was, at the discretion of the administration, she extended a clause on his contract that he had with the village to add that service because he had the experience to do so.
Based on that statement, if the description here states grant writing,
I'll change it.
That's why I
we're gonna
asked
have
him
to
to change
change
it.
it to.
That's what I-
Stormwater, I'll change it, stormwater itself.
It will change.
That-
Stormwater.
that- And it's gonna go to Public Works, yeah, that's what I
Not
asked.
Public Works,
Yeah.
not Public Works. To the stormwater.
Stormwater, okay, as long as it's properly appropriated, that's fine, okay. Okay, what do you all, okay, you all have travel next? Okay, the next thing I have is a request for a part-time administrator assistant at $9,360. Maybe you all don't have that. And which I'm of the proponent, we should not be adding staff, so that's gonna be my recommendation, but let me keep going. The manager's car allowance is at $5,040, as same. Manager's travel is at $725. Her telephone is at $1,800, which I think you guys had $2,000, right? Okay. And then, the communications, which is the village line, is at $4,000, same thing as you guys had. Councilperson Mathis, what's wrong? I just skipped the zero. Councilperson Mathis. I'm going right down, I'm not covering the zeros. So you have 1,800 and you have zero, and then the next, which is the phone, is 4,000. Postage is at 900. The BSAA software that is run is for the accounting, I have 3,281, you all have the same thing, correct? The Wells Fargo, okay, there's the budget, right?
This expression goes hot off the press.
We're paying a lot of money for the copy to be breaking though. Okay. Oh, why is it so fat?
Because I put all the detail on
Oh.
that I was asked for.
Okay, but this is not the right one.
No, this is the one we worked on today, that she
This
wanted.
is not the right one.
Right, this is a more
But-
detailed.
But if we're going through the second budget, you need to know why we made the changes, or what items changed from what you have on the one on the 24th. There's a reason, because there were errors on the other
Okay.
document.
Okay. I reviewed this budget briefly with you all today, and I thought I had, you all have added things on this budget that you're proposing to the council this evening that I will vehemently opposed to it, and I mentioned that today. So, this is not what we agreed. We were gonna be showing the council this one, which is based on what we all discussed that we wanted changes from the first budget workshop.
If you want to have a budget that's wrong, we can approve that one, but there's changes like for the police, I explained earlier.
Okay, that is fine, but what is on here, for example, we asked for the village hall upgrade to go down to 3,000, it says 13 here. So you all have made additions that we asked you not to do, so, fine, we'll go through it.
And we also removed all the capital acquisitions.
That's fine, let's go through it.
No,
All right,
zero.
let's go through,
Here's the
let's
thing,
add
when
the
we met
finance.
with you and.
Hold on,
May I, before, do we need to pass this
no,
out?
we
Do
are,
not?
when we get to the department, we'll go through it, go.
Do you want to stick, since we're finance administration, you want
Yes,
to go to finance
let's go ahead, let's go
administration?
back from the beginning, because this one has a lot that I'm gonna recommend that needs to be taken out.
So, because it's so thick, as I mentioned to you, if you go to Department 513, and you look behind it, you'll see shaded lines. Those shaded lines that you see are footnote descriptions of what makes up those totals.
They would like copies. They would
What
like
I'll show
copies.
her.
They would like.
Okay, so council, if we can go back, okay, so we're admin and finance, okay, and let me explain to you why admin and finance is gonna be the first, department that we're gonna go through. You all have this page in front of you, correct? Okay, if you all take a look at the budget that we were just looking at, and you compare to this, the only department that dramatically increased was admin and finance. So as the chair, I'm asking you, let's go through that department first. Because clearly, when we left here at the last budget workshop, everything should have gone down. And if you look at every department, for the most part, it did go down. The only one that did not is admin and finance, so that is why we're gonna direct our attention to that one first. Are we all on the same page?
If I
Councilman
have
Gray, on the same
anything, I
page?
deserve one. I leave my house to come here,
Okay,
and I pay taxes, I deserve one.
so,
No, I want
Okay.
one for myself.
Did you have any more?
I got one, I
This
got
is the
two.
second time.
Okay, one for Ms. Brooks, please.
Yeah, we're just need that one.
I pay taxes like everybody else, I deserve one. Thank you.
okay. We're all in admin and finance. Okay, so with that said, you can all, let's go walk through it and you can see again the differences based on what you all were looking at before, okay? If you take a look at the admin and finance budget you have in front of you, the ones that, we don't have to go through every one. The ones that stick out is you'll see lobbyists at 48,000. You see line item number 3, regular salaries part-time at 18,000. You also see the village hall repair man is up to 14,000. You are gonna see staff luncheon for $1,000 was added. There's a line item for $1,765 for the manager to go to Tallahassee and other functions. There's $13,000 that were added for the purchase of projector, TVS, and scanners, and $5,000 for education courses. So we need to take a look right now at this particular department, because in my opinion, I don't believe that any of these things should be completely gone. Not all of it should go into the next fiscal year. Because we left, excuse me? Well, I think we should just go through the ones that are just circled, because everything else is, we're gonna go through admin and finance. Admin and finance is the only department that is over from when we went to go, when we got together. Do you all understand that? You all understand that part? So when we met at the first budget workshop, this budget was at $494,000. When we left that meeting at the admin and finance, when we left the budget workshop, we all asked for everything to go back. And if you all take a look at the recap, which is the first sheet, every department did go down. The only department that didn't was admin and finance. So if we use our time and their time wisely, let's go through admin and finance first.
You want me to take it through the major changes that there were?
I just said the major changes. $18,000 for, they're asking for a part-time position, $48,000 for the lobbyist, $14,000 for the village hall to repair it, $1,000 for the staff luncheon, $1,765 for the manager to go to Days, Tallahassee, and what have you, $13,000 for TVs and projectors and scanners, and $5,000 for the manager to go to education courses. So we need to take a look at those. Council. So if you ask me, if you're asking for my recommendation in this department, I would take out the 18,000, which is adding a new head count. If we want to entertain the 48,000, I actually already asked the manager to put on an RFQ for a lobbying firm. So I think she's going to be bringing that to us in September. She needs to put it out there again to see what we can get. So that might change, and if at that time we wanted to go lower, it can. The repairs to the village hall, when we met at the first budget workshop, we asked them to go to 3K. I don't know how it got back to 14,000.
I can tell you right now. If you look at the public works budget, there was $5,000 for capital expenditures and $5,000 for repairs. That is now zero. There's nothing there, which is $10,000. You originally had $3,000 sitting in admin, so the difference is really only $1,000.
Okay, so we're still, but we should still take it back. I mean, $14,000 for repair and $13,000.
Well, that's why I listened. You
Okay.
look at the repairs, see which ones you want to do and which ones you
know
don't
where
want to do.
Yeah, I do. You guys are talking over each other and I'm trying to stay on. We're looking at the manager's recommendation, correct?
Yes, of course, that's what we'll
So
look at.
it's just
Yeah.
a recommendation.
Yeah,
Even
that's
though-
why we're
But
here.
even though it's added, it's
Yeah.
not, okay.
Yeah,
So
what
that's
we
why I
always look
said we
at.
should just go at it.
And every time we do this, we always look at the manager recommendations. We don't look at any other column. We look at that and we compare it to what we spent before. Because their recommendation is based on what they spent last year, what the village spent last year. But when you are putting things and next to it is a zero, means that there wasn't spent, then we should rethink that.
Okay, so, first line item is that other salary position.
Yes.
Does everyone want to remove it?
Yes.
Then we'll remove it.
Okay, then we'll remove it.
Done. Hold on.
Vice
That-
Mayor,
that's also
hold on
gonna-
a second, Vice Mayor Nickerson. I'm running the meeting. Yes.
For that, a couple of things. First of all, why do we need a part-time position? Like, what is why do you guys feel like it's a part-time position? Second of all, I would just like to know overall, Chairperson Roman, what she feels about also the changes.
So the part-time position is to assist the manager with administrative things and things so that she can be proactive versus reactive. I completely support that, but not at this time. Per our last budget, we said we would not do any increases, on salaries, and we would not add anything to the budget. So I'm not opposed to taking a look at this at the half year. I think it's something that's very important, and I've expressed that to her. But right now, yes, I agree that it should be taken out.
Okay, so at the same time, your FICA that's now sitting a few lines down at 11,223 will go back down to 9792 that it was originally. It's 513, look at 513621. It's going to be 9792, back to what it was.
Okay. The next one that we looked at was the lobbying firm, but as I said, I did ask the manager, it was time to put an RFQ out there, and I believe she's
I'm
bringing
sorry,
that forward.
we did have another change. The FRS changed because the FRS changed the rates on us after we did the first budget meeting.
Okay.
They went up slightly. So you see here, it's 2402 on the old one, it's 25,549 on the new one.
Okay.
But that's just their increase, which obviously we didn't know with the original budget.
Okay. So an RFQ is gonna go out for the lobbying firm, correct? Okay. So that should vary, and at that point, we all have the ability to say what they're gonna, they can clearly, if we wanna bring it down, we can at that point.
What did you say for the RFP?
Look at the next page, and you'll see the two people we're paying is detailed in the footnote. On the next page.
No.
Councilperson Mathis has a question.
We talked about this earlier, Erwin, and the other legal, 32, about 40. Where is that money?
The 41,000, by the way, is no longer 41. That was included, the original, there was an invoice hanging from Geller for 34,000 that we put the forgiveness of debt. It doesn't look like that's ever going to be paid or collected, so we written off. So it was really only about $7,000 for other year to date.
So where is that money? You said 7,000, right?
It's just about 7.
My recommendation is that 7,000. I think that's if you didn't want to add anything for that.
Well, no, that went towards the line item for the attorney, who now goes to all of the meetings that we had. He was with us at a meeting today for 3 hours. He goes to the septic and sewer meetings. The reason we had the other was because Joe Geller didn't go to everything, or Green Spoon. He would send another attorney, and then we would be billed for that. That's why we had other there. I don't think that, so we took that out and we added it, they're combined to just one line. Because the attorney's retainer was, incredibly low, he came to one meeting, we had to have an other because we were billed for other things.
In past years, that other line was mainly for things like workers' comp claims that we had to litigate. That's what really, when we had the.
Workers' comp claim goes to Florida League of Cities, we don't get billed for that, we pay Florida League of Cities.
trailer park settlement was on there the prior year.
Exactly, and that was all Green Spoon Mayer and not Joe going. He was under another attorney when we get billed. for it.
Right, it was for another
Yeah,
service.
exactly.
Right.
But now we encompass it all in one.
But we just had to pay out for this specialized attorney to do where that money come from.
The bond counsel came out of the loan. If we wouldn't have done the loan, there would have been no bond counsel to pay. Councilman Gray?
Yeah, that was my question as well, like, where are we aligning in the budget, those special attorneys like we use, for, the loan and credit that we did for?
Well, no.
This is just an example, but I'm sure in the future, there might be a need to.
Well, nothing right now. Right now, it's up to the straight retainer. If there's anything extraordinary that comes up, they'll just have to, the legal counsel for, there's gonna have to be a budget amendment at that point.
But it's something to say that since we've had a new attorney, we haven't had that need to the exception of the bond counsel. But if the loan wouldn't have happened, we wouldn't have had to pay it. Because I came
We
with.
paid her $15,000, but it came out of,
Ten.
it came out of
I think
the,
it's 10, we didn't pay her 15.
well, we had a 5,000. We had a-
Five was
Five
for
for your
the
birthday.
bank, that's
Right,
right.
to the bank, to process the loan.
5,000, there was 10,000 as well, right?
That's for the bond
Yeah.
counsel.
The bond counsel was 10, and we had to pay her.
Right,
Exactly.
so we netted the net was, it was 1 million too less than the
Should we kind of create some line item here for those special cases then?
Well, we
Like,
don't know if there's gonna be any.
Just to,
We don't
exactly, we don't know, just to be prepared, have a contingency.
I mean, that's up to you. I mean, I don't think at this point.
I'll ask the chair, I'll ask the chair of the committee, admin and finance, with regards to, okay, so let's go to the next one, which is, yes.
Sorry, I have another question
Uh-huh.
here. So prior to the statement, right, the total shows here, looking at the professional fees lobbies, right? It says here 3,000 per month, but the total shows $48,000. Right, we had said that before it was 2,000, right? So how do we get, I'm just trying to correlate, right? We have two firms you mentioned. They each were paying 2,000.
2,000.
So that would become 48,000.
Right.
So here, in this piece here, you said 3,000 per month.
So remember, this is only, the act was only for July, so there's 2 more months going to be added on. You'd
No,
have
he's
another
talking about
8,000 added on.
the description.
The description, correct, here.
It's incorrect.
Sorry. Point it out. See, I'm looking here at this, 3,000.
What it is, I think you have a typo, it needs to say 4,000, not 3,000 there.
Oh,
2,000.
Right, it's just.
Gotcha, okay, I'll fix that.
Because each firm is getting 2, so it should be say 4,000 per month.
Okay.
Okay. All right, next we have, going line is, that there is a line item for staff luncheon, software for PDF editing, et cetera. The question I had for that is if we're gonna have a software for PDF, I definitely need it, for the laptop. If the village is gonna invest in that, and we're also gonna do it, I think the council should have access to that as well.
No,
because-
that is on your computer.
Huh?
The computers have it, the laptops don't.
Download.
Okay.
No, my laptop.
I mean, not laptop, I mean.
Okay, so if we have it, we'll take a look at it, but I'm just saying, if it's something that the council agrees, it should be open to the council as well, because, we get these things, huh?
What are we doing with Bobby except the 48? at this point?
I said earlier, the manager, it has to do an RFQ, so we're gonna put an RFQ out there, she may or may not, we've been a little busy, complying
I've
with.
worked on a lot of other
But,
RFPs, but I will be working on that one this month.
Can we go up real quick?
David, which one, Councilman Roman?
The telephone, I'm just curious, it's not a huge difference, but it went from 1,800 to 2,166. And I know that we've been working on the phones, so what is that?
This is not,
If you look
my
below,
cell phone,
if you
it's
look
not cell
below
phone.
it, you'll see the footnote that spells out what the charges are. So it says AT&T, manager phone 3353 times 12 months. They're in your detailed footnotes.
So.
And if you go to the next page, you see Comcast. Remember, last year Comcast was free. Now we're charging us between cable and internet, it's $147 a month.
So that's what the 2,166
Right, and that
is?
makes up the 2,100. There you see the breakdown.
Okay.
Okay, so the next one is the $13,000 in the repair for the village hall.
And if you look below, you see that's broken down into 3 items. Repair of the jail cell for 2,000, roof repair for 10,000, and I put miscellaneous, because every year, there's always something that comes up that you have to repair, small things that just add up during the year. I just put 2,000 as a placeholder for that. And on the roof, I don't know,
Roof needs to be done.
Chrissy, is the roof something that we know we're gonna have to do this year?
We have to.
So,
Because we have a bad leak and we've gone through everything we can. We've had roofers out, we haven't gotten any quotes, but I needed a roundabout number just to get through our workshop today.
What's up with the jail?
It needs to be repaired, the gate doesn't close, the cell part.
Can you tell
or
what's
the
wrong with the
close.
jail cell?
Or you
No,
can't
that's
run
okay,
the
that's
front.
okay, it's for
It's okay?
2,000, no. So you're saying that it is gonna go for jail sale, the roof, and what's the other thing on this?
Just miscellaneous repairs that add up during the year. There's little things, locks have to be changed, keys have to be made, there's just little.
And you said you took that out of Public Works, but the interesting thing is that I don't see Public Works budget went down 10,000.
Sure.
We'll get to that. Okay. 14,000 for Village Hall repairs. I know, are we in a consensus on that? Are we leaving that as is?
Okay, so what are we putting the roof at?
We just put it at 10 just to,
Okay, 10. It's
just in case. I mean, I'm of course gonna try to go as low as we can, but we need to,
That's actually, I changed my roof this year.
Yeah.
My house is probably a percentage of this,
Oh, yeah.
and then I paid more than that, so
Oh,
we're
well,
at least
then I-
looking
This
at.
commitment, I just did.
Let's, when you get the quotes, let's just make sure that we actually, once we get the quotes,
That
let us.
roof is cheaper, a lot cheaper.
Okay, so, okay, can I have a point of order? Okay, so when you get the quotes, can you please make sure that the admin and finance come in the city,
Absolutely.
and we don't go over? And if it is, it's gotta come for us first.
okay.
Okay, the next thing we have is the staff luncheon and the software for PDF.
Why is that grouped together?
Yeah.
Which one? I have no idea. That, and that's added, it was not on the prior budget, as
What are
$1,000.
we looking?
Staff lunches.
Staff luncheon, software for PDF editing, et cetera.
Where are we? I'm not seeing where.
It's in the new one that you just got.
Which line item are you on?
It's right under rent,
300.
it's, hey, okay, I need to have point of order. I'm the chair, and if it's asking a question, I'm answering. Please. Okay, that's why we have so many voices, and when we get this, it's not coming out clear. Please. The question, I'm gonna answer your question. It's underneath rental water cooler. There is a line item for staff luncheon, software, and PDF editing. $4,000. The account number would be 001-513-649-0039.
Oh, the one, no, that's employee, no, that's employee ads. It's made up of employee ads.
Okay.
Birthdays and other
Erwin,
miscellaneous.
I am telling you what I'm reading as your description. It says your staff luncheon, office, the software for PDF, $1,000.
On this copy, hold on. I gotta adjust this one now. Yeah. There should be employment, it should say employment ads and miscellaneous.
There's a big difference between employment ads and the staff luncheon and PDF. So what is it exactly? Is it employment ads?
If you look at the breakdown, you'll see what it is.
I know, but I'm reading.
$500 for ads, that we've already, that's what we spent more than that this past year.
Okay, so if you're gonna have backup that you're providing not only us, but to the resident, it's gotta be consistent with what it says here, and it's not. So can we correct that, please? Should not say staff luncheon.
Yes, we
Okay.
can change that.
Okay. All right, so are we okay with $1,000?
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the next one. Manager, 1765, 1,765 for days, best practices, and the chamber.
The only issue is gonna be if she's gonna attend the Days Tallahassee. If not, then that $950 would come up.
Right.
Are you all, do you all have that in yours right here? I'm okay with that. 1,765. Days is about 900,000. Best practices is $85. That's $9,080.
Why does she need to go to day day? I don't think, I think one person should go to day day.
If you all want, well, you know, we've always budgeted, and I'm the only one that has gone. I think I've gone before, Vice Mayor Dickerson, and I think Councilperson Roman recently went half the time. I went with the manager. I do believe the manager going to Tallahassee once a year is not a bad idea. I do agree with that. But I mean, she went last year. It's not like we're adding anything to the budget. But again,
I said we leave it.
seven, you wanna knock it down to 1,500?
About.
Okay. Right now, we're leaving at 765, okay. Okay,
We're leaving it at 1765
right now, let's leave it at 765, we'll revisit it. I wanna look at the bigger item. Purchase a projector, TBS scanner, 13,225. That was not there before, and I believe we asked that to be reduced.
So what you see, the first line item is 6 microphones at $250 each, which we need, right? The microphones are
Yeah,
broken.
please.
How much are the microphones, 500?
About $250 each.
Six.
Okay. What else is on there?
A conference phone.
We don't need that next.
Okay.
We haven't had a conference call, well, we haven't even. What's the other one? Rebecca, wait.
The monitors,
Television monitors, 2 for the hall, 1 for the conference room, 1 for the manager, and 1 for the
In my
police.
opinion, that can wait.
We had 8 microphones, not 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 8.
You get it?
250 times 8. What else is on there?
The TVs, you want to mix the TVs? Okay. Village Hall display PC, if you don't have the TVs, you don't need that.
right, you don't need most of that.
Sonic wall equipment, don't need that. Server room battery backup, you need that.
That's
That's
$400.
Scanner for the scanners for the finance department is that I have Marjorie make copies of every invoice that we have, but we don't have a scanner, so she has to run to the front to make copies, scan them in, and run to the back and start pulling them in. It's craziness, it's just waste time.
1,500.
$400.
400? No, it has a scanner here for 1,500.
No, that's a mistake.
Yeah, it should be 400.
The scanner was $400.
So the Sonic wall is 250 or 400?
And Sonic, yeah, the server battery backup is, I don't have these lines up. Hold on a
Yeah,
second.
server room backup batteries, 250.
Let me work from the bottom up, it's easier that way. A shredder. Right now, we have a ton of stuff sitting in Blue Cell Storage and everywhere else and to have a company to come in to shred for us is going to be very expensive. It would be less expensive to buy a heavy-duty shredder and shred all the documents ourselves that need to be shredded.
What are we shredding?
All old finance documents that are out of date. We are required to keep documents from 7 years to present, but we have documents from.
We have 20 years old documents sitting in that warehouse that are
And
just
that,
piled up.
that opens the village up to. other
I have a question.
concerns.
Who's shredding?
It would have to be us when we can. If we
Okay,
don't
so
have
if we've
service.
had these documents, so did we close down the Blue Storage? Okay.
Yeah, we have.
So you just took them out because,
They need to be disposed of.
is it mandated by the state that they be disposed by a certain date?
It's not mandated, but it's good practice to get rid of old documents, because when there are FOIA requests and those things, we have them, we would have to produce them, but we aren't required to keep those, so if we
Okay,
have
no, I-
complete.
Well,
things-
because I can't imagine if we're not increasing staff right now, I can't imagine seeing you at a shredder shredding this.
Well, that's what you would be saying.
So, but
I know.
I don't believe that at this moment, if we've waited for 10, 15 years, we can wait till we get a reimbursement FEMA and see where we're at. I don't think if we're waiting for a year, because now that, then what's gonna happen is, we're gonna meet in 60 days, and you're probably gonna tell me it's gonna be too much work, and then we have to hire somebody. We don't need, I think we need to wait. I mean, that's my opinion. It's a lot of money for a shredder, and then all of a sudden, it's gonna be a person attached to it.
The next 3 items, that's why I went backwards, it's easier to read the notes going backwards. That 1,500 was for, and for the 2,400,000, that has to do with the conference table, chairs, and credenza.
Wait on
That's not
So
needed.
those 3 are gonna come up.
In my opinion, I think from what we just talked about, what's necessary is clearly the backup, and the microphones 250 times 8.
Okay.
Because our microphones don't work as we see this evening.
And if you really need a scanner, you can get one from Amazon for free.
So, okay, so I've got the microphones, the backup, and I've got the scanner right now. Everything else is up.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
can we perhaps get a cheaper shredder? Because I've seen there's like $2,000 shredders from your point, Christian.
but the somebody's gonna still have to do it.
Right? Do you have somebody to do it?
No, we have to do it. We would,
You have to
you would
do it.
just be doing it.
Huh?
We can go ahead and get, a student, Tony, that he's doing community hours, and he can sit there, he already started with the little one that we have, and has, keeps breaking and we keep trying to fix
Okay,
it.
Tony is 15 years old.
And we can get
Give me
him-
1 second. Tony is 15 years old. Who is monitoring him to be sure that he doesn't shred something he's not supposed to be shredding? I understand that these boxes may have the date of 1992, but you weren't here, I wasn't here, and you weren't here, and who's making sure that what's in there is exactly from 1992? He's 15.
I already did that on Friday. We went.
You went through all the boxes that I see and
That you
on
see
Friday.
here, but we
Now,
still
is that a
have
good
one.
use of your time? Do we pay you to come in on Friday? I mean, we have to think about these things. It's not, I think we're being counterproductive, in a time where you're giving I sent an email out, we need to have a meeting on something, and we can't have the meeting because we're working on something else. So we really need to focus on what's necessary as opposed to what we think we need to do at the moment. Some things can wait. That is not an emergency. Can I tell you what's an emergency? As I sent you all an email. We had a hurricane in 30 days, are we ready? No. So we need to have a meeting to go over our plan for a potential hurricane. That's necessary, our time to meet together.
Okay.
So I don't think shredding documents is necessary at this moment.
And I agree with you, Mayor, this is my proposed budget. These are the
No, I
things
know,
I'm
I know,
looking
I know,
at,
I know, I
And I
know.
want you all to understand.
Yeah.
So I
No,
think we're,
understand.
I think we're done with finance
Perform better
administration.
service.
No, we have one more line item. It was added for a training for the manager, $5,000.
Okay.
That wasn't there before. The clerk, now, are there certain, I know the clerk goes to certifications because it's necessary to keep her certification as a clerk. Is that the same thing for the manager? I don't know.
That can easily wait, yeah, wait.
Okay.
We'll revisit it. I believe everybody should go to training. We'll revisit them, okay? All right, we're done with admin and finance, right? Again, that was the only department that was way over than any other department. Is there a department that you all specifically would like to go over?
Police. There's some numbers on that.
Yes, for liquor.
So where do we leave this total then? How much should we reduce it?
I want to review what we take
The
out.
finance admin, yeah, what's the new total now?
Okay. We're removing the part-time position. We're changing the FICA back because the part-time position is going to be gone. We're removing all the fixed asset additions except for the microphones, the scanner, and for the battery backup of the server. Everything else is going up. The lobbyist is open, is an open question, but it's going up for RFQ. Once we get that number, we'll know how we have to adjust that up or down.
It will be on.
So those are the,
So we're roughly,
I also have some recommendations.
Well, let's not do it now, but what I'll do is by the end of this week, I'll make all these changes, send them revised once these provisions are in, so we can see what the number falls at that point.
Okay.
but,
Yes.
but back to the question, roughly how much did we reduce it? Or
Well, I don't-
35, 40?
No, we reduced it by 18, 20,
Plus 13.
20, 10,
Well, 10.
20, about $30,000.
30,000. And we were under,
We were, so far, our ad valorem and fees for the new year is a little over 2.2 or something.
It's 1,155,000. If you look at the revenues, you'll see it in a minute. It went up about 100,000 for the prior year.
how much of a gap do we still need to close? That's my question.
No,
we're
actually,
good.
no, we're under.
We're gonna put money back in the reserves.
We are gonna
Just
put
one.
money in the reserves.
We
Absolutely.
can do a simple one now, planning and zoning, which is a very simple one. There's really no change. The only issue are we keeping is, we're making the assumption we're keeping Placervia for one additional year. And that's the only thing in that department. Questions on that? We can move to the clerk's budget, which is Department 518. That actually went down about $700 from the original budget you had. It was 108, 103, 834, it's now 103, 115. This is a small difference. And if you look on the next page, you'll see what makes up some of those totals.
because she now has a phone. We discussed that at the last
Well,
meeting.
why did you say additional sales stipend? Shouldn't it just say sales stipend?
Well, now she just gets the stuff, right?
She doesn't get the stipend.
She doesn't get the stipend. So
Oh, yeah,
No, it's just communications, no, because she's got a village phone now.
Yeah, so she
So then
shouldn't be
you-
getting stipend.
But she shouldn't get the
Wait,
stipend.
remember I said one at a time.
I did not have time to change all the descriptions, the description column, because I spent all day on these detailed breakouts, so.
But I think the point that the council's making is a good one, and that is, she has just gotten the phone that we all have a number. So if she's gotten a phone and the village is paying for it, there should be no stipend.
No,
So
so
that
if
needs
you
to be
look at the
deleted.
detail, on the detail line, it says cell phone at $100 a month or $100. It's not a stipend, it's just a village paid phone. I'll change, on the summary sheets, I'll make sure I change all the descriptions.
So, yeah, just make sure that that's, okay. What else on the clerk's budget?
Really, there was really not much of any other change.
All right, next department.
Next department is our favorite department, public affairs.
It's gone down dramatically. I think it was at, projected, this year to end at 53, it's down to 20. Any comments from the council on the public affairs budget?
Fourth of July.
It's 519, Harold.
So I was looking at my old one,
Okay.
because I had made some adjustments. I'm just gonna throw these out there. I didn't know how you were doing senior lunches, so I didn't know, we were zeroing that out altogether.
Well, we haven't had a senior luncheon. That money was in other. I've actually been to a lot of the senior homes. We haven't done anything in a really long time. I think it's something that we can do, but, again, it's the will of the council. I mean, this is one budget that we've knocked down from 53 to 20,000. And I think we did pretty good
So it's
knocking that
zeroed
down.
out.
No, it's not zeroed out, it's at 2,000 right now.
You can't do it at that. How often do you want to do it?
Well, we haven't had a senior luncheon in so long, and, you know, I mean, but if we don't want to do a senior
I got an
luncheon.
idea.
Huh?
I got an idea. You, for the state of the village, we have 2,000.
But I'm gonna say something, I'm not, the state of the village is not gonna cost that much, because, the way I have it laid out right now that I've been working with the clerk is, it is gonna be one, I have two, I have one in the morning at 11:30 and I have one at the evening at 7. The one at 11:30 is being sponsored by a bank, so and that one at 11:30 is, catered to the seniors, it's an early bird address.
Let me say that.
And then the evening one, it's going to be like a meeting, it's gonna be a village address, and then afterwards, very light, like something incredibly light to like, you know, like two appetizers, and some, you know, spicy, a seltzer or like sparkling, you know, soft drink or something like that. Or it's very light, we very different, it's gonna be business.
I was just gonna say we could take the 2,000 and we could make that the senior.
Because I'm trying to end this year not spending any money. So I got the backpacks pretty much was all sponsored, so I mean, my intent is not to spend the money, as we end, this year.
So, any changes on public affairs then?
Yeah, you had 2,800 projected for the 5K. I'm gonna say 22.
Make it 20.
22.
22?
Mhm. And can we do the state of village at 15?
Yeah, I'm not even gonna spend 15 this year, but yeah.
Can we do 1,000 then?
Which one we talking about?
State of the village.
State of the village at 1,000. Like he says, leave it at 15. I'm okay, 1,000, 15. I mean, it's gonna, I don't know what it's gonna be like next year.
And,
Um,
and like with Christmas, usually.
I don't know why that's
No,
1,000.
It's high.
Because we don't do anything for Christmas. We have a toy giveaway.
And
And
the
the Christmas
residents
caroling.
do
The Christmas
everything
caroling.
else, so.
I mean, I don't really know. I don't know what this 1,020 is.
I mean, I know we get a tree and all that, so can we do 500?
Sure. That's it.
I'm sorry, I missed one. Which one was it, 1,500?
1,500 is the state of the village fair.
State of the village. Okay. Okay. So we're just reduced $1,100.
Where's the Fourth of July gonna be? Because that's not what we spent this year, is it?
We spent, 1925. So-
And we're gonna cater it, right? Again, is that the intent?
Whoever the chair of public affairs next year is.
I thought it was easier and cleaner that way. But I might not be sure.
So the final spent was 1925? So I think 18 should be fine, we just cut back.
Okay, any other thing on public affairs? Great. Police department.
Okay, the only small difference is if you look at the second line for regular salaries, it changed slightly because you had 278 on the original, actually it went down to 276. But if you look at the detail that follows, the line item detail, it actually listed by officer to show you what the salaries are with the increases for next year. That's on this one, it's on the detail sheet, behind the first two pages.
And, okay, that gives them the 3%.
That takes into account the 3% increases, plus we added one new officer.
That goes down.
Mayor?
Yes.
Where are we adding that new officer? Just give us more context.
We were short one full-time officer.
Yeah, that was something that, we had voted on, that, and we are short from, we're short naturally, but we're short from the regular that we have in terms of amount. Ideally, we want to add 2 more, but right now we're adding 1.
So we're back to the position.
We're back to where the village has always been, at least since I've been around.
That's 7.
Yeah, 7 and 1, 7 full-timers and 1
We
team.
should just title that bringing back to the position.
So, yeah, actually, you know what, Councilperson Drea brings up a good point. Instead of saying new, it's not new, it's going back to what our normal, amount, we used to have 7 officers and a chief. So, 1 new officer added, it's not new, it's what you should be.
We'll call it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll change it.
We'll change the wording. Okay.
Madam,
Because it will be new once we get to 7 to 8.
I'll put 1 replacement officer at it.
That's better, replacement officer.
Madam Chair, so on the original budget, I had it 278, 214, and this one is at 276, 597.
The 270 was a guesstimate, that it wasn't exact numbers. If you look at the next one, you see the listing of every officer's salary, it's
Okay,
exactly.
I'm just asking if 276 is the number it should be.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. That's all I need.
The only question I had on the police budget, so we are increasing the part-timers to 1683.
Yes.
And the council's good with that? Okay. Any other questions on, yes, Councilperson Evans?
In fact, please, some of the expenses went down, like even the holidays, when I actually listed out all the holidays at the rates, it went down a little bit from 26 to 22. So some of the expenses did go down.
Councilperson Mouth is going once. What's your question? Going twice?
It's not a question. I'll save it for.
Okay.
Or
Yes, go ahead.
about the interim chief position, she's on course to become full-time chief. I'm asking about the salary increase. I understand we're in a different position financially, but when people are getting promoted,
I have a question.
concerned about
I have a question. So when when does her interim agreement or contract end?
October 1st.
The new fiscal year?
Yes,
And was there an agreement in that agreement?
yes, that she would have an increase in salary to 75,000 annually.
And is it in that agreement?
Yes.
Okay, if it's in that agreement, why don't we just put it here from the beginning? What's your question, Councilperson
My
Marquez?
question is, there's staffers that deserve increases and we're not giving them increases and we're just giving the officers increases. And that's not fair. These people are working too. It's not fair.
I agree.
It's
I'm
not
not
fair
asking
at all.
that when it's the public works and the other person.
But, okay, but you're, okay. We are not comparing,
I'm not talking about,
we're not comparing, I don't want to use apples to apples, but we're not comparing apples to apples. Why are we not comparing apples? So I'm going to give you one quick example. Number one, almost every employee we have here that is not police officers has been here under a year. with the exception of maybe Carlos.
Who deserves something and is not getting it?
Carlos is getting a slight
He's getting a
increase.
slight
Yeah.
increase.
Give me-
Okay,
yeah,
good.
one- If you want to say something, ask, and I will let everybody speak. But one person at a time only. So what Carlos is getting an increase. The police officers, it's a union contract. It's different. So we're not comparing apples to apples.
I'm talking about people working. and-
Everybody-
and going above and beyond, and they're not being recognized.
So
Just like,
you know, we led by example by taking our salary or stipend from 4,500 to 3,000 because we lead by example. And I believe everybody up here would say we are all working maybe even harder in our positions. So I say that to say that it's not that Marjorie, Carlos, Robert, Daisy, Denise, Christia, did I miss anybody? No. I'm not, no one. In fact, when we had the first budget workshop, we specifically said, and we thanked them for all of their work. Unfortunately, we are in a predicament that we have not been with before. Therefore, it is in our best interest of the village to be just a little prudent until we get our reimbursement back. And then it's going to be a whole different ballgame, because then we will regroup and take a look at where we're at. And therefore, and if they're continuing with the quality of work that they're putting out, I'm more than positive that the manager's gonna make a recommendation, and I'm quite confident that this council, who has expressed the interest that they deserve a raise, will get it at that time. But like any other company, when there is somewhat of a crisis, we have to act accordingly. You know, it's not taken away. You can say no to the 70, but if she has it in writing right now, then you might have put this at the beginning on here. But again, we're at the will of the council. We approve the budget, so it's completely up to the council to say yes or no as to whether or not that would go to 70 to 75. It is not taken away from anybody else as far as their quality of work. But let's also keep in mind that the person that we happen to be talking about right now has been here for 19 years, as opposed to just 1 year. So there's a difference there as well. But anyway, so with that said, the manager has asked for that to go to 77 or 70. Leave it at 70 or go to 75.
75.
Or leave it or go to 75. That's a recommendation for the manager.
I say we go $75 an hour.
Councilperson Roman has made a recommendation that it should go to 75 to honor the agreement that was made between the interim chief and the manager. If we're gonna move it up to 75, it's been seconded by Councilperson Mathis. Okay, so all in favor? Okay, it'll move to 75.
so there's other adjustments that need to be made with that, right?
Yeah, FICA, I would believe, FRS. Anything else on the police budget, department?
Yeah, there were some other major ones, like the gasoline, that was originally budgeted at 28, is now 40-something thousand, 48,445. And that's because if you look at look at the detailed notes, that is because of the 18,000 estimated for the take-home cars.
They're not taking
You're not doing it.
But if we do, yeah.
So, are we leaving it like that, or are we gonna go back because there's no take-home cars? Remember, this is for the new fiscal year.
That was my question to the manager today. Are we
So-
having take-home cars or are we not having take-home
Christia?
cars?
We're having a reopener in April, and also the officer was asked to speak with me again about the village's take-home policy. So that would be within the fiscal year, so we possibly could be doing.
Okay, so if the manager would like to potentially leave it at 48, shouldn't there be on the revenue side, because they are being charged something?
There would be, if
Uh-huh.
I knew what amount to charge, if it's $40 a week or $50 a week or whatever that amount is.
Okay, so
it would
right-
be showing as other revenue.
So right
Correct.
now, it's not shown in the revenue side?
No.
Okay, so it'll be 48 if they have take-home cars, but we're gonna see a difference in the revenue slightly.
Very small.
Very small, okay. Councilperson Mathis.
Why can't we calculate from April to October instead of going from October to October?
Okay, because a couple of months ago, the council approved the village doing a
Right.
pilot program for take-home cars.
Right.
We've met with the officers and to review the policy and for them to sign off so that they cars home immediately.
Right.
They did not sign that, but now they want to discuss it, and
But we're scheduled for that discussion in April.
no, this is for the policy, the village's policy, not the PDA's take-home car policy. So our pilot program is already in place. We just didn't get the acknowledgement from the officers, so they can sign that now and then take home the car.
Okay, so
And
at
we-
this point, all they have to do is sign off,
Yeah.
and they can drive the car.
Yes.
Okay.
But I also, the reason we did the pilot was so that we could see what it would cost. So for April, we would have some numbers to utilize in determining how much we should charge them and all of that.
Okay. I was under the understanding that since they didn't go into it, that in April we could start negotiating all over again, so budgeted for
Well,
April.
that could very well be the case. I mean, we don't know how the discussion will go. There may not be a pilot talk.
Thank you. Is there any other questions for the manager on that?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So if we look here at the item, it says Verizon telephone, right? 3,485. I'm looking for the breakdown under the footnotes, but you know.
Which line item?
Line item 6, all right. It's right here. They all have the same-
641,100.
Yeah.
Telephone.
Telephone, Verizon.
It's the cards for the laptops with cards.
What's there?
Where is
The
that?
breakdown on the, you're talking about the 3,485?
Correct.
Look on page, look on 521-641-300. You'll see there's a CPA, there's the air cards, which are $36 a month times 8 cards for 12 months. There's a CPO phone, and which is the cost patrol phone, which is a small little amount, that makes up the bulk of that difference.
Okay, thank you. Can I get, any other questions on public safety? Residents, okay, I'm getting another question from the resident, okay. Any other message on public safety? Or not message, questions? All right, next, department.
There's going to be code enforcement building. Okay, so you mentioned about Carlos before, but in the last meeting, you asked that all salaries be chopped back with no increase, so it was put back to 35. So if you're increasing, you need to tell me what you're increasing.
May I just?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Again, going back to, Chief Hufnagel, she was promoted. That's why she's getting an increase in addition to, Carlos Garcia is being promoted. So that's why I asked for the increase for him. I think, again, they're doing more work, more responsibilities, that they should be compensated.
Oh, I'm sorry, what are we at?
The public work.
Oh,
Code
public works.
code
Code
enforcement. I'm
enforcement?
sorry, code enforcement.
Code enforcement building department.
But didn't he get an increase?
He hasn't gotten it yet.
But he was, we adopted a budget of 32 and he's ending at 35. There's additional, I know it's not a lot, $3,000, but what is that increase?
He told me he was never increased. Our HR coordinator's here, he said he's always made 35. I don't know what happened before my time here, but
He may have started a month into the year and was prorated. I mean, I'm not sure, but he's making 35. He has another raise.
No, what we had talked about was, well, no, I actually thought, from what I recall, it could be that we thought that 32 is what we agreed, and somewhere along the line, he got 35, so, whatever the percentage would be, we thought that was an increase.
So your fresh memories, originally it was at 43, you backed it down to 38,
But,
and it was back down to 35.
may I say something? So, he has some added responsibilities. However, I see him a lot inside the office. I see him at the front desk all the time. And it could be because perhaps we don't have certain, right people in place, so that needs to be taken into consideration. So I think if we had the right people in places everywhere, I think there'd be more efficiency across the board. And I think that needs to be taken a look at, and I think job descriptions need to be taken a look at. And if we, and something I had told the manager before we met, because we were gonna cover this, I said, I understand your memo, and I respect everything you want, and you need help, and I'm not saying you don't need the help, but maybe what we need to do right now is reevaluate everybody's position in here. Because we do have a clerk, we do have a manager, we do have Casey, we do have Robert, we do have Carlos, and we do have HR. So if we took the responsibility of the village as your day-to-day operations and spread it out, maybe there is a way that you guys can really work better together if we would just see who is doing what, and maybe we don't have the right people in place, and then that's the determination of the manager to decide. But I think that needs to be taken a look at. But I'm here often enough to say that I see Carlos inside. I don't see him as outside as much as I used to. So, my point.
So what are we doing?
Huh? Well, no, I'm saying I don't even see him doing code enforcement or public works. I think I saw Carlos fixing a street and maybe about 7 days ago, and I have not seen him outside, but I think he's just, helping out in areas because there's a deficiency there or there was somebody out. But I think before we do any increases, I really we need to reevaluate admin finance, what everybody's doing, and take a look at those job descriptions. I think Councilperson Andres said that job description for the clerk. I really think that there are things that maybe you all can help each other a little better. That's my opinion.
And just to answer about Carlos being up front, yes, he has been filling in for the building clerk on, quite a bit because of her health issue. And also because she quite a while, so we did need him to help with that. Yes, we do need to fill the building clerk's position with the appropriate person. And so, yes, I agree, we need to look at our organizational structure and find out ways that we can be more efficient and identify the right people for those positions. But I can tell you, Garcia he's filling potholes, he's doing what he can, and he also is trying to work with our public works staffer to fix and do, he's working, he's doing a lot. And I understand that code enforcement has probably slipped a bit for him because of the in-office work, but I think he's done a magnificent job considering the situation, and he's always been a team player and always willing to do whatever you ask.
Yes, Councilman.
So I understood from our last meeting that we were raising it to 30. We lowered it to 38 from the 40-something, which I'm comfortable with the 38. I think that because he has changed positions and he's gotten additional responsibilities. I agree with what you said. He's been spending way too much time in the office. I sent quite a few emails this week last week in regards to code enforcement, because there were a lot of things that I'm seeing out there that are not taken care of. So, but I believe he changed positions a few months ago. So, and he's trying to help out. So I don't think we can penalize him for, trying to help out and give him the chance.
Councilperson Roman, you are right. I'm looking at the first budget workshop because I brought it with me. The manager recommendation was 43. We asked for the council agreed on 38.
38.
No, we agreed, 38, and then Mr. Nickerson asked that we back down to 35.
Oh, I have 38 in the circle, so I don't know.
No, I think we left it at 38.
No.
Okay.
It's 38.
Okay, so I asked the council, who wants to leave it at 35? Who wants to put it at 38?
Fine.
Okay, you say aye?
Aye.
Let's change it to 38,
No.
$3,000.
Thank you.
Okay, next.
Madam Mayor,
Uh-huh.
down the second to the last, the 65510, the training DSA software for 1,500. I think you guys explained before that has to be done once a year.
No, because we're going to have to have a new person to the front, and they're going to have to engage the software company to train them on the use of the software for permitting purposes.
Okay,
So
so that
that's,
has system.
sorry?
That has system.
Yeah.
enforcement, any other changes?
Public Works is next. There was one additional line item that I added in. If you look at on account 634200, there's actually two, the second 634200 for Craig Smith drainage inspections. We spent about $15,000 this last year. They did all our drain inspections, and we didn't have that in the budget for next year.
One line?
It was 634200, the second one.
Oh, there it is, okay, right.
So I did add that line in.
I asked the manager earlier today, okay, so this is something that we have to be in compliance with, and it's already been done by Craig Smith, and it cost us how much?
$17,000.
Okay, so, but how many years was he doing?
We had to do 6 years.
Okay, so is it gonna really cost us 15 to do 1 year?
No, but there are other things we have to do every year. So we still
Such
have
as?
to report, we still have to do the inspections, we have stuff to do, all those things. So it won't be 17,000, it's probably,
But I did remove the $20,000 line for an NPDES consultant. That's been removed.
Bless you.
It's just under the one that says interim match grant. Under it's 634900. That has been removed.
What was removed?
The line that says the NPDES consultant, which is spelled incorrectly, but that's the line that was removed.
Okay, let me tell you my thing about Public Works and the tree trimming and the lawn maintenance. So I have a real concern that we are paying a company $75,000 and the nature trail consistently looks bad. The Little River Estates Park consistently does not look clean. Our medians have gotten a little better on North Miami. But that's a lot of money to one vendor.
You're referring
A
to
lot.
Mitchell, right? Mitchell Lawn Care?
Whoever the vendor is,
It's Mitchell
because
Lawn Care.
I did ask the manager if it was the same company, and she said yes. So with that said, that is excessive. I don't know what we originally agreed with the tree trimming. It says 35, it would be my recommendation that if you need to add 15 to have the proper drainage inspections, you need to bring that 45 back to 35 and perhaps have a sit down with him because residents are not happy, and I'm not happy as a resident that the only nature trail that we have to walk consistently does not look clean. Not even the day after they're there. And that's concerning, in my opinion. That's a lot of money, in lawn maintenance. Now, if our village looked impeccable and residents weren't complaining, I mean, I probably would be okay, but, I mean, I don't know how the council feels, but $75,000 for the same company that is coming to do lawn maintenance and tree trimming? I mean, when he's doing lawn maintenance, he's not trimming a tree?
No.
Well, then we gotta take a look at the negotiation of the contract, because that's incredibly excessive. So, that's my recommendation. I don't know how, Public Works Chair feels, but, $75,000, for a lawn maintenance company is, excessive. And then if you all take a look at if you all take a look at the recap sheet, there is 8,576 for Sherwood Forest. Come on, no.
What?
Take a look at the expenditure, if you look at the recap sheet, there is a line item there, it says transfer our park fund, it says 8,576. So 75 plus 8,000, what is that, $83,000 a year on our green spaces? And it doesn't even look, our fountain is not working in Sherwood Forest?
Or it's a question, you mentioned lawn maintenance, right here where I'm looking here, it's $30,000, you said 75.
Well, look below.
Oh, just tree trimming.
She's adding the
Same
tree
company.
trimming.
Tree trimming, there's a recommendation for 45. And before mentioned, I did ask if it was the same company. It is.
We had it, I remember 35,000 last year, so why increase it again, especially on that fact?
Manager can have
Um, We didn't have Mitchell last year, this vendor.
We have feedback.
We
We're
had
using
different, yeah, we had different people, but yeah. Last year, we had about 4 or 5 different vendors doing different lawn maintenance work. I got different quotes for services that we needed, basically to take care of our right-of-ways, our, parks, and, weeding, planting, and they, came back with a very good quote, and they, have shown to be themselves very consistent, they show up. That was another issue we had, so they do show up, and they're there twice a week, doing the mowing, the
Twice a
pruning,
week?
every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks, right. Raking, edging, blowing off surfaces, weeding, spraying, weed control, and hand clipping. The tree service is separate from from that, because that is $1,100 per service. So that's $2,200 a month.
Or if you look at the detail, it's broken out there.
Right.
It says there's 2 cuttings per month in the detail.
Right. Now, the tree service is different, and that is,
Does the
If-
contract that you have with Mitchell for the tree trimming, is there a cap, or are they are free for all when they're out there? And who actually knows what the tree trimming? Because normally the council would be asked, or the old councilperson Dre used to go out with them and tell them what should be cut. So what are they cutting?
we didn't do that. I didn't know that was the protocol. Garcia went out with them and showed them what we wanted to keep the to be as, gentle with the trimming, but still maintaining, a hurricane trimming.
Just clarification on that. I was proactive, noticing that we had trees
Yeah.
all over
Yeah.
our village that we needed to actually do some work, so I was proactive, encouraged the manager, make sure we could, go out and offer myself to actually get on the truck with whoever the service person was at that time, the Big Daddy, and we actually went around, as much as we could based on that budget. So,
But it's $1,100 a day, for the tree service for 2-man crew, arborists, and 8-hour work days. So that is the fee that we paid this year. We can certainly revisit that. I will meet with Mitchell and be more, I encourage you all to, if you
I
have
have,
notes you want to get some.
I have a question, because in the time that I've been here, the tree trimming came 4 times a year, which is every quarter. So, it's $1,100 for the day,
For an 8-hour day.
and how many days are they here, and how often do they come?
This is only for once, so.
So, we spent $4,200, $42,700, and they were here for 1 tree trimming this fiscal year?
Yes.
and
If I recall, the expenditure remained in May and June, if I recall.
Right, they were here for, it took them.
Oh, that's when they were all over, and I called them, I thought they were having the trees.
And another thing, I'm not sure if you guys did the turnover, but when we had David, in order to save monies as well, we would try to align the tree trimming with the bulk pickup. And that would help reduce the cost, so I know this was done,
Right, and they shipped, so
They
they got
shipped.
rid of the bulk log as they.
so they actually did the displacing of the bulk themselves, where they're just put it, and I think that's where, maybe there was that, a lack of turnover, because that's what we were trying to do every quarter, right? We had to make sure that they cut the tree, the tree limbs, put it there, and then the bulk pickup, and that would help reduce the cost. So that's
Well,
where.
these are good notes for me. I
Yes.
can talk to Mitchell
And let's try that approach. Yeah.
But,
Okay, I just want to reiterate one more point. So, when was Lon Mitchell, remind us when Lon Mitchell was hired or contracted?
This was, it was, February or March, this is for February 13th.
they've only been here for tree trimming from February to now, which we're in July, just one time?
No, they didn't start tree trimming until June.
Okay.
No, they were just doing lawn service. We didn't activate the tree aspect of it until June.
And when we paid them, how much did we pay them for that one time, whether, they came for one time, it was probably like 3 or 4 days or 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And how much did we pay them for that 2 weeks or whatever time frame? Do we have that number?
I think before it was only about 15 of the expenses, probably close to $30,000.
It would be.
Because remember I'd asked you, why was the tree trimming so low? You said, don't worry, it's coming up.
Right. wasn't it?
Okay, so my concern is that February to October is, I don't know how many months it is on the top of my head, but we're looking at a brand new fiscal year, which starts October 1st, it's gonna run us for 12 months. So if one time is cost you $30,000, and in 12 months, I would anticipate that we are going to probably use them more than one time, because we used to have a once a quarter, as Councilperson Joy said, it was right before phone pickup. And they charge us $30,000 after we just had a hurricane where trees were trimmed excessively, or the way it needed to be. What are they gonna charge us to come out 4 times a year? Because generally, we
It wasn't my intention to do 4 times a year. I thought 2 times a year would be sufficient, but also that was 6 months. We had those trees trimmed from the hurricane in September, October. This was 6 months later that they came in and did it.
So two
As far
settings
back
was
as-
15 each.
No. LGS, the company we just did the first hurricane trimming and debris removal and all of that. Mitchell is the one that came in June and started the hurricane preparedness tree trimming, the one that we just did. That is $30,000.
As far back as I can remember, the tree trim has always been between 30 and the high 30s every year for the last 10
Yeah,
years.
but they also, Councilman, you're right, it's been consistently 35, but they come 4 times a year.
Yeah, but whether they come once, twice, or 4, it depends what they do in that quarter. I mean, maybe they
No,
do.
but if
more
they-
than-
but no,
The
but-
total number is what we're talking about.
So, but my concern is that we just paid them $30,000, and if that's what we just paid them, because it was 6 months after it had been done, so there's 12 months in the year, so it's gonna cost us $60,000 next year, not 45.
So maybe the answer is that's another item that you put up for RFP.
That's exactly where I'm basically recommending, that's a lot of money.
And my-
And, Councilperson Dre.
Yes, and my recommendation is just to make sure we continue applying those best practices to cut the tree limbs and during that bulk pickup, because I remember we saved a lot of money as well when we did an approach, and perhaps there's
Yeah,
where
be-
we see that increase.
Yeah, because hold on, are they charging us because they're hauling it out too? Oh, yeah, no, we can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, no, we
That's-
can't.
that's where it-
Council-
that's where it is.
Councilperson Roman.
Okay, Mayor. So in my opinion, in the 13 years that I've been living in the village, this is the best tree trimming I've ever seen. So I do believe that, I didn't even know we had it 4 times before. And they've never trimmed my tree, the tree that sits between me and my other neighbor. This is the first time it was ever trimmed. So I do believe there is a difference. I do believe we should send it out for RFP, we need to negotiate. But I think that you also get what you paid for. And so in comparison to what we used to have before, and, I talked to quite a few, everybody has different opinions. Some people thought they chopped them too much, and some people, but I thought they did a pretty decent job, and they're arborists, which is another difference. With the previous, I don't believe we're arborists.
We have Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Councilman Karen.
And I would echo that message as well. I did bring up the good work that this tree company did as well, the arborists. So I did notice what Councilwoman Roman said, so, it was a good job, at least from what I saw from a few of the trees in my area.
So if you're gonna put it on RFQ, just let them know that if they have 2 contracts with us, because that's what they have, they need to do a good job.
Okay.
They may need to rethink what their billing is,
Okay.
because the council's not happy.
Well, I will definitely take all of that into consideration.
So are we knocking it down to 45 to what, or we're keeping it at 45? Councilperson Mathis has said 35.
25.
Oh, 25?
to 35.
35.
35, keep it at 35.
35.
How far is the contract we have until when?
It's a year-long,
It ends at
it's
the end of this
renewable
fiscal year?
after every year. Yeah, so we are not.
We're gonna knock down to 45 to 35.
Yes.
The 35.
Just a year.
Mayor, I have
Yes.
a quick question.
Councilperson Director.
So in the previous moments, we talked in a different department about, changing the roof. I see here we have improvements for the village hall as well.
It's zero.
Oh, it's zero, okay. Yes, I was looking at it later.
If you look, repairs and maintenance is also now zero on that
It's
one.
zero. So we're moving
That's the
that to
plan I was
the-
telling you, is we did the finance administration.
Any other question on Public Works? Okay, hearing none, next department, yes.
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of good feedback based on the effort that was done at the Triangle, at the Sherwood Forest, and planning the butterfly beach. So, to keep that spirit, motivate our residents, perhaps I was thinking maybe just add some extra, allocate some monies for, keep that incentive for our residents to keep planting that. I spoke during our meditation meeting, at the meeting. So this is something perhaps we can, I know we have the program, the house of the, of the month or the quarter. Perhaps this could be a great incentive team, seeing this good, feedback that we receive from our residents. So I would like to propose, perhaps we could add just, maybe $500 to provide that incentive to our
Can that be
residents.
something that, like, do you have a broken down transfer to parks, that's predominantly Sherwood Forest? Because I know,
Because that would be, hold on a second.
because that's where, we used to have a line item, I think, under the park budget for just Sherwood Forest, and I think that, I don't know what that expended, I don't know what 70,
It
40.
was repairs and maintenance, repairs and cleaning of Sherwood Forest Fountain, and just general repairs around Sherwood Forest. It's just lawn maintenance and repairs that makes that up.
Lawn maintenance to what? We already have a lawn maintenance line item, so
Well, is Sherwood Forest included in the 30,000?
Yes.
Okay, so I just gotta take that line out. But it's.
well, don't take it completely out, because councilperson has brought up, we had a resident that wanted to do a tall of butterflies, the councilperson very uses discretionary funds, and, we've all gone to see it, it's very pretty, and I think, Adam Old would like to maybe do something like that. The top lot, it didn't cost a lot of money, it's doable. It's like, it cost us $63, and, and it's very pretty, actually, yeah.
For eight plans. And that we keep our residents motivated, just do more projects.
But you probably plant some cootie on the, yeah.
So what do you wanna call it though? Is,
Well, we have transferred to parks, and if we're
well, I'm
not
gonna
using.
change the amount anyway. That 7489 will change now. So once I take all these, let me take a look at the parks expenditures again to
Okay.
make sure these numbers are good, and I'll adjust that transfer up to whatever it should be.
And then keep in mind what Councilperson Burris asked for, and then.
Well, I'll just put it right, I'll
Yeah,
call it
question.
miscellaneous for right now. I don't know which one, and we'll change the
We'll
name.
change the name.
I'll just put a placeholder.
But make sure it's specific on that, okay?
Yeah, park.
And $500.
What's it called? Park? Park.
Some ideas here?
Probably should put it.
Okay.
Sorry, we'll come up
And
with.
I'll adjust the rest of the expenditures on the parks by.
Thank you.
So here's the thing with, I do have a question, because the House of the Month program, the signs were donated to us by residents.
Okay.
But they are not really weathered, so we're gonna have to replace them soon, with something that is more durable. And the only time that we actually give a gift card is for Christmas and Halloween, and that's been coming out of my discretionary. And this coming one, both Dreher and Nickerson said that they would add to that. So that'll come out of our discretionary. Now, if we lower our discretionary, then that's gonna,
How much is the sign?
So, but then that doesn't include the sign.
You know how much is the sign?
So I was having a hard time getting quotes here locally because people don't answer the phones. But when he looked at it, it was, I did get that number from him, too. And we thought it was too expensive. And we didn't really like the signs. It was. Gonzalez? So you're right.
Councilperson Roman, get the dimensions that you need to the
It was
clerk.
$395 each. And how many signs do you have?
We need two.
You need two.
Get the
So-
dimensions to the clerk, and then I'll talk to someone that I know that does signs and see what we can come up with.
So
we'll need
I
to add, I mean, that's 790, I would say at least 500.
These are signs for the park, right?
No.
No, for the Home of the Month program.
So if we're gonna add $800, what department would you like us to consider adding it at?
Well, what should I come out with? I guess it's part of the,
Perhaps code
code
enforcement?
enforcement, it was part, yeah.
So,
Who's the code enforcement chair?
so,
Yes.
We
so
don't
you
have a
would
line
like us to
item.
consider adding a line item of $800 for the home of the month, which promotes cleaning up, keeping up with your yards and what
Correct.
have you.
Correct.
You're the chair.
So how much do you want to add?
She has said that she's gotten a quote for $395. Councilperson Mathis has said that he's gonna see if he can get anything better than that. Maybe, I don't know if that would be tacky, but if you get a sponsor, they may wanna put their logo on the bottom of it, so it's something
How about
to.
750 then? for
So
the two?
do 750 and then we'll see what we do.
Okay, just so you know, for those that want to know, it's going to go to account 529-64800.
Okay, and then just, make sure it says, Home of the Month program.
Any other questions with Public Works?
Here's the title, residence plan
What's that for?
for the $500 for public works.
Okay, the last department is council.
I think we covered that already. We already did.
He made recommendations that was not discussed.
Okay.
So, Councilperson Mathis has made a recommendation to cut back travel and to cut back discretionary.
Oh. It was the mayor's travel at 5,000 and the council's at 500 each. Reduced the mayor to 25 and then the council to 3. And they're reducing the discretionary from 2015. To give us a savings.
Okay, Councilperson Mathis made a recommendation to cut back the mayor's travel from 5,000 to 2,500, and the council from 500 to 300. Yes.
What was, the mayor's actual travel?
Well, I don't know, it has 398. Do you have that broken down to, the question that Vice Mayor Nickerson has is that right now you have a projected total of the year ending at 3,938, but he wants to know of that, how much is actually the mayor's travel?
Basically, almost all of it, because hardly anybody else traveled. I mean, on the council, there was, I think there was one for you for one small little amount, but everything else was free.
And, you know, I don't have a problem cutting back. I think at this time that we all have to cut back. But there is a lot that I don't even put in as an expense. I just don't. But all of the trips that I have done is just really for the benefit of the village. But I'm all about, you know, whatever. Now, back then, we really didn't really have a lot of money, in our reserves. And I remember telling Jason, I was like, oh, the stipend, that should go away, 2,000 per person. I said, but I'm all about keeping the discretionary, because when you get a stipend of 2,000 or 1,000 or 3,000, that's like, I guess we use for whatever, right? But the discretionary, you can't use it for whatever. The discretionary is you've done something for the village. So it's a big difference. So let's say, for example, I'll give it an example of right now, Councilperson Roman and Councilperson Dre. Councilperson Roman uses her discretionary for the signs. Councilperson Dre has used a portion of his money to pay for the butterfly plants. She took her discretionary and she paid EEOC training for the staff. So the discretionary is controlled by what is used by, like we can't go do whatever. Whereas our stipend is whatever we do with it. So I'm more inclined to not want to lower the discretionary because, we do things for residents. The residents may say, hey, or the women's club may have something and we'll take it out of our discretionary. It's giving back to the village. So just be mindful of that. We've cut back a lot with the, huh?
I wrote it.
You wrote what?
I wrote it before the discretionary, you can use it anywhere. I was the one that wrote it.
So I think that's where the discretionary, it's discretionary. Exactly.
On the compensation, in the original budget, remember we had it at 4,500 and we cut it back? I believe we need a resolution.
No, we need two ordinances.
Ordinances to cut it back
There's
to
two
the
ordinances,
3,000.
yes, I was gonna say that once it's approved. Very important, Norman Powell, we need two, or we did an ordinance, we need one ordinance, 2 readings.
Okay.
Councilperson Roman, yes.
I agree, I mean, I think the discretionary, I was going to say that because I've been using my discretionary towards projects or wherever we don't have funds. So I do believe that we should keep that. I'm okay with the council, if we lowered our travel a little bit. I think the mayor's travel to Tallahassee, especially being there and seeing her in person, and, I believe it's important. So.
And I was just in Tallahassee, it was an unexpected trip. I was in Tallahassee for a day. To save money, I flew up and I drove back because it was cheaper. The two-way going to Tallahassee was astronomically expensive, so I flew up late Thursday and I drove back after my meeting on Thursday. It was a 7-hour drive, but it was cheaper to do that. It was cost-effective to do that, more time, but,
Yeah, I've known just from like the travel that you do that you find the most budget-friendly way of doing it. I mean, you drive all over the place. You drive consistently to Tallahassee, Orlando, to Cincinnati, things like that. I think that the mayor's travel should stay at 5,000. I think that because of where we are today in the village, it's much different than the past. I think a large reason of that is your activity as mayor. Like part of putting Elberton on the map. You're always traveling, and Elberton always now has a presence to where in the past it didn't. And I think that's very important to how we got so far so quickly. And I would like to keep that up. And so I think the mayor's travel should stay at 5,000. I think the council person's travel is not anywhere near 500, so I think I can drop as much as possible. But I think the mayor's travel should stay at 5,000.
I also want to add one more thing. I also sit on the board for the Florida League of Cities, so there are times that I travel to the village doesn't pay for it. When I travel for the Florida League of Cities, they completely pay for it. So that travel doesn't go into here, so there's some travel that doesn't really affect it. But I guess for the council, if we could just see what I actually spent, because it says 3938, I find that a little low. But if we can get actual, like what
Have you turned
mayor.
in all your receipts?
No, but this is, keep in mind that it's still what the village paid for, because it's a village credit card. I just have to match all the receipts to the credit card. I really try not to use, now that we actually have a credit card, the only time I use my own credit card is if it's at its limit and hasn't been paid. So you all have been paying the bill, I just need to sit there with all the bills, which I've already started, and match all the receipts to the credit card.
For the other people, we're only talking $2,000, 500 times 4. And if we find they're not going to spend it, we can always move it from one line up to the other. If you find you want to spend more in the discretionary and you're not going to use the travel, you could move to discretionary because it's for expenditure for the village purposes, so I don't see any problem with it. I think it's such a small amount that, you know, just leave it where it is.
And I'm conscious, I'm really conscious with regards to, you know, when I go to Tallahassee with what I spend and, you know, I'm away as of tomorrow, and for a lot of the 5 days, but it's covered for the most part by the Florida League, because I sit on their board. So there's a, you know, and I'm pretty conscious, I don't go out and have like steak dinners or anything like that, I keep it pretty, I don't really eat that much, so.
So
Try to eat.
I guess the recommendation was for those to be lowered, whatever everyone else wants to just agree or disagree with that, we can move forward.
I like to say this, everything else, it doesn't matter.
Vice Mayor Nuker says to keep it the same. Actually, you're the one that proposed it, so I'd like to hear from you. You know, maybe that, you know what, you recommended 3, it's 5, we'll do it at 4. 4, okay, 4. Are we okay with that? Okay, 4. We'll 4.
And, I mean, we donate our travel expense, we've done it before.
Yes, Vice Mayor Nickerson has done it.
So where are we changing?
Instead of 5,000, 4,000, which seems to be that's where I'm gonna end.
And for each person?
Just keep it where it is and then
Okay.
we'll, you know.
So it's gonna be 6,000 total now, instead of 7.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
I know we were talking about, we're gonna have to, I guess, vote and whatever, so, but I remember last time, I just want to, clear on this, I remember last time we were talking about taking the charter, the mayor and council compensation, and we're lowering it, and I think earlier you were saying something about, we could be penalized.
Well, you can't, no, you cannot say you're an independent contractor, become an employee, and then go back the next year and say you're an independent contractor.
So what happens with that then?
The IRS can come in and deem that you were an employee all the
So,
time, and
so I'm asking, so are we able to do this?
I would leave it as employees, I wouldn't change it.
Okay, but the
The amount you
the
can
amount can
change.
change.
Oh, amounts
Okay,
can
but you
change.
point, okay.
But I wouldn't
Okay,
change the
I just
status
wanna
from
make
an
sure.
independent contractor to employee and then back to independent
No problem.
contractor.
For the record,
Councilperson Madison,
we're only considered employees for FRS, nothing else.
Okay, Councilman,
If we could double verify what Urban is saying, I'm sorry, go ahead, Christie, you were gonna say?
Oh, no.
If you wanna just make
Okay,
that,
we can-
you know, with your opinion.
Councilperson Dre is asking, that he just like double check to make sure that that is correct.
That's okay.
Okay?
In other words, you can't go back.
No, you can't go back.
Okay, so, Councilperson Roman?
I'm just saying,
Okay,
let's say we
so-
tried something out and it didn't work.
Okay, so, right now, yeah, the state, just double check, it's state, so you just have, Norman, if you please, make sure you get back to the clerk and then she'll let us know. All right, so the only change we made is from 5,000 to 4,000, the mayor's travel, which is what it seems like I'm gonna end the year at
Right.
anyway, okay? All right, thank you.
I think we're done.
Oh, we are. Okay, hold on, no, I'm gonna open up public comments, stand by. Okay, so at this time, anybody would like to come up for public comments? Now's the time. Thank you, Owen. Thank you, Christina.
Kristen McLean, 270 Northwest 86th Street. I just want to encourage the council not to drop the discretionary funds, because as a resident, I feel like, you know, in our $2.2 million budget, whatever it is, it's a very relatively small amount for what the impact is on the village and also people's perceptions of that. I think it's very meaningful to residents when you can do something for them, like plants, you know, or signs, or just, it's a very visible gesture that I think goes along with residents. So if we're going to cut, I encourage you not to cut that.
Thank you, Kristen. State your name and address for the record, please.
Courtney Kirk, 265 Northeast 87th Street. First, I'd like to thank the council for trying to cut the budget as much as possible and doing it relatively prudently. Secondly, I would suggest you look at some of the cell phone coverages.
Yes.
There is no way you could spend $100 on a cell phone plan anymore. I mean, you have to work with that and make international calls. I'll work with you if you need a better plan. The final thing is, I don't know what's been going on with code enforcement and the resources there, but code enforcement has not been happening for the past number of months, and our village looks like crap because of that. You drive down 87th, I can point to at least 3 houses between here and my house, that's 2.5 blocks, that have property that has not been maintained. I mean, not just barely, but not been maintained in over 6 weeks. The church, once they got their approval, they haven't touched it. They're still, remember when we looked and we saw that nice jacket that was sitting there? 6 weeks later, guess what's still sitting there? The jacket. You go down 88th Street, you look at all the cars on the swale. If we're gonna have code, let's enforce it, or let's undo the code. Enforce what we have, or get rid of it. And I apologize for taking that part out, but that has to do with the resources and the reallocation of resources. So I would appreciate it if we can kind of get on top of things.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. Anybody else? State your name and address for the record.
Brooks, 400 Northeast, 90 Street. I have a few questions.
Ms. Brooks, it doesn't work if you can speak up please a little bit.
Merlin Brooks, 400 Northeast, 90th Street. I have a few questions. Okay, I did have this, and then I looked at the budget and I saw that the repairs on the village hall was 14,000. Are we going to have an open house so that the villagers can see what the work that was done on the village hall?
The 13,000, about 10,000 of it is going to be for the roof. So that would be, that probably be a little visible, but absolutely, you can call the manager once they get done, so yeah.
I don't mean me per se, just have an open house.
Yeah, no.
Sure. Okay.
We'll let the residents know.
Thank you.
That the roof is being done.
I heard about some increases on staff. Is Officer Sharp still with us? Because I noticed there are very few of the old officers, and he being one of the oldest officers that we have here. And I haven't been seeing him, and I am concerned because I noticed some of the officers are gone and been replaced with under-Latin officers.
Officer Sharp works the graveyard shift, so I believe he comes in at about 9 or 10 and leaves at about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the morning. I think 10 to 7. Officer Sharp was off about 2 weeks on medical leave, but he is still here.
Okay. I asked when the promotions were going around, and I was told that he got a promotion to Lance Corporal. I also asked if he got a raise. He didn't get a raise. Everybody else that got promotion or got raises. My question is, why didn't he get a raise?
Everybody that's gotten promoted has not entirely all gotten a raise. That was by the contract that, it's not in the contract that when they are promoted to a rank that they get, but it's something that actually the manager and I have talked about, and we're gonna be considered for the next, to bring it to the board. But he did get a raise because everybody across the board got a raise of 7% for the first year. That was negotiated a while back. And he gets a differential of 98 because he works night shift. So he got about 13% raise.
Okay, but the increase that he got, was it because of his promotion, or was
No.
it because across the
No.
board?
He got,
Because according to what I heard, code enforcement got a promotion and got a raise. The chief of police got a promotion, got a raise. So I just questioned, he got a promotion, did he get a raise because he became Lance Corporal?
No, but he got a 7% increase, which is more than what the chief and Carlos is getting. All police officers got it the first year. And our police officers are by union, so it's not something that we decide. It's decided by the attorney and the manager, and it's brought back to it. But it has been looked at for consideration when the reopener happens next year.
This might be completely off what we've been discussing, but why do we keep the work truck in front of the village hall? When we come to meetings, I don't, but we have to park at the back because the work truck is in the front. Why is it the work truck in the front of the village hall?
That's not a council question, it's a manager question, and you can always call her. Or
I can answer, because there was no other places to park when they were taken. The gentleman who drives the truck leaves at 4. So at that time of day, he parks in front because there's nowhere else for him to park. But I've asked him on a number of occasions, if you see a spot open on the side or even in the back, to go in that. But we will keep our eye on that more, and I'm hopeful that at some point soon, we'll have some more open spots in the back so that he can park it. Because I agree, we don't want the truck out front, so it's so much space.
If the name of the village is on the village hall, on the building, I don't think that's there for that purpose. So I think that should be parked at the rear or on the side of the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. Any other public comments? Okay, hearing none, Councilperson Jerry had a question for the council with regards to having a public works season.
Sure. Thanks, Mayor. So in the last couple of months, actual weeks, and Krista, you're aware of this, Norman is aware of this. So there's a request out there to schedule a meeting with the council in order to the recent changes as far as the project scope and potentially increase into our budget for the septic to sewer phase 1 project. So I did send out a request twice per the village clerk. There was no response from the committee, so I'm bringing it tonight because I need to schedule this meeting because otherwise we're going to be jeopardizing the grant money, the 3.1 million schedule that we had if we do not discuss this. And obviously, one of the reasons why we want to discuss this is because there's been changes in the design of the pumping station. There's been additional costs incurred. So that's one of the reasons why we want to at least have this discussion, bring it up to the council. So we'd like to see.
Not a problem. Do you have a date in mind that you'd like to propose?
I know the state of the village
Is on the 21st.
Is on the 21st, so perhaps the 22nd or the 20th, which was next week.
22nd, or after, would work a little better. The 20th would really be one, would not, for me, it would not work.
Does the 22nd work for the rest of the members at 7 p.m.?
This is a committee.
We would like to bring it up to council.
Of the council.
Oh, the council, special
Yes,
council.
please. The 22nd
What's-
falls on a Wednesday.
What's the deadline of this?
Deadline, we are trying to aim now for the November, and Christian might speak on this as well, but from what I understand, we're trying to aim for the November hearing to review the grant. As you know, we were positioned to go for the August hearing, but due to the changes in the scope creep, potential increases into the, change of the grant request as well for monies to be allocated to us, we missed it. Yeah, go ahead, Christian.
We were not, I did send a synopsis to the members of the committee. I'm sorry, I was going to do that as well, and the other, and Vice Mayor. We were not ready. The designs were not ready for submission for the funding request of the state, as well as our contractor or consultant, Canoni, required more funding to do those changes in design. And we also needed easement from the school board. So there are some things that did not happen and still need to happen if we continue. And Canoni asked me and the chair of Public Works to consider meeting and increasing those funds, but also extending the certain deadlines that are necessary.
I have to say one thing. I realize that, you know what, I'm not available. I'm sorry.
Can't we just
I'm
do
not,
it in September when we meet?
For,
Actually, there is time sensitivity for this grant as well. There's also some work that they need to start working on making those updates to the design. So that's why we request for having
August 30th, because the 28th and 29th, we have primary elections here, and we can't use the hall, the hall the night before, the day after. 30th? I can't.
23rd, is that?
I'm sorry, I was looking at July. No, I'm out of town for a few days. I leave out of town tomorrow until Sunday, and then next week, the latter part of the week.
What about September 4th? You have committee meetings that day.
The
can't, there's a primary elections, and we can't use the village hall the night before or the next day, because they're bringing the machines and we can't. We can't do the 29th because about the elections.
The 30th?
What about like September 4th? There's a public works, this is public works, or we can add it there?
Yeah, it's actually a special council meeting to get moving this forward. That's the request.
I mean, we all have something on our calendar for that day, like that day.
No, and we'll, instead of having a public works committee, we'll have a special council meeting. Right, so can we say 7 o'clock then?
What date?
September 4th?
Okay. Is that? No, right? It's not bigger. Oh, it's a Tuesday. Okay. Everybody's okay with that day? Okay. Okay.
So
All right.
we'll first have a special council meeting at 7 p.m.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Excellent, thank you. Okay, so September 4th, 7 o'clock, just be sure to email the clerk so she properly notices it. Thank you all for being here. I want to remind you all that the State of the Village is next Tuesday. There's going to be 2 an early bird address for our senior community at 11:30 with the brunch, Ms. Brooks. And then there's going to be the regular one at 7 o'clock. So it's 2 opportunities to be able to make it. If there is one meeting that residents should come to, should be that one. It is going to be a recap of where we're at, what we're doing, what we did, and what we can do better for the incoming year. So if you can't make the events, and you can't make the town halls, and you can't make the council meetings, and you can't make the committee meetings, make that one meeting. It'll be about a good hour and a half long. It'll be a good use of your time as a resident. So with that said, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion's been made by Vice Mayor Nickerson, it's been seconded by Councilperson Mathis. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Any nays? Hearing none, our meeting adjourns at 9:12 p.m. Thank you. Thank you guys, good job.